Welcome to the bold analysis. Immediate former Kakamega governor, or rather not governor, governor aspirant who was a former Kakamega senator, Cleophas Malala, was handed over a very heavy responsibility in the UDA party as the new Secretary General. It was a very controversial pick, and I remember raising questions on what was ahead of the new SG. He did not receive a very good reception, and to say the truth, the leaders, the kind of reception that people expect, we did not see the way Malala was actually received there. But immediately he settled in his new appointment, he's made headways. One is a meeting with the new, with the Secretary General of ANC, Simon Gakuru, and also the Secretary General of Ford Kenya, that is Chris Wamalwa. And he has also met the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who is the man that is playing politics, or rather is the man who is in charge of the UDA politics so far, after, as because of what he said in a recent, I think, in a recent event where he said that Ruto is the president for all of us, but his interest is under UDA. And what has been the responsibility bestowed on Cleophas Malala is very huge, because he was picked strategically. You can see a decision by William Ruto to pick Malala was to wrestle the party from what was perceived as Rift Valley and in Mount Kenya dominance, because the party was actually, the branding was seen as if it's from the two tribes. But President Ruto, in his wisdom, tried to just bring in a face of Western Kenya with a very long script of making sure that you neutralize Salim Davadi and Papa Waroma. I doubt whether Malala is going to be the next kingpin for Western for this position. Doesn't look so. And the responsibility that Malala has is the one of making sure that all the affiliate parties, all the 21 affiliate parties in the Kenya Kwanza coalition, fold and form one party known as UDA. And the UDA party, according to what Malala said, is that he wants to make UDA party as big, or rather to replicate what is in the South Africa, the ANC of South Africa. Of course, that has been said over time that was the intention of UDA, or of Jubilee 2, because the person that backed Jubilee 2 was now William Samoei Ruto. So that was the intention. But for a minute, I want Sakaja to listen to what Jenyando, Miguna is saying. I have been differing with Miguna on many issues, but on this one, he really has a point. Jenyando is telling Malala of the pending danger. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our video. Thank you very much for those who are supporting us from different parts of the globe. I want to say asanteni sana. I celebrated my birthday in a very special way because I've realized we've got 100 subscribers within the last 48 hours. I want to say asanteni, and also those who shared tea with me for the birthday. Thank you. I know I cannot mention all of you, but anasema asanteni sana. In this we grow as a family. Let's look at what Miguna is saying. My brother Cleophas Malala, South Africa's ANC is the most disappointing political party in Africa. It had the massive support from South Africans and the world at large, but it has failed to fulfill its promises to South African blacks. Don't copy a failed enterprise. You know, that ANC was the one, you know, from the independence, and it's the party that took South Africa to independence. But despite of the biggest aspiration of the people in South Africa, it has failed to in its mandate. And of course, when it came to power, I can tell you that one of the slates NC came into power in a very silver slate. It was coming to end corruption, the dominance of the whites, and just a lot of stuff. But how many instances, how many cases of corruption? Malema is blaming Ramaphosa. And Malema has been thriving on Ramaphosa's failures. So this is a message that Cleophas Malala cannot afford to ignore. If there is something that William Ruto really thrived on, the fabric of UDA was bit of a big, huge promises on how they were going to change. And they successfully managed to tell Kenyans, or rather to demonize Uhuru Kenyatta Jubilee too. And they demonized it to make sure that, number one, it gets to understand, it gets to the people's nerves that it was a wrong regime. Of course, we don't want to say that everything is fine, because at the end of the day, government cannot be perfect. At one point you miss it, at one point you get it. Now, what Miguna is saying is simply telling Kenya Kwanza that it doesn't matter on the huge political party that you're going to form. It doesn't matter on the amount of resources that will be put to form that party, but your only contract with the citizens is the promises. Tell us, by the guys, what do you think? Do you think this will be the new discussion on what Nyando is saying, that the only legitimate contract between Kenya Kwanza and the people of Kenya is those promises? And that is why the date that will break UDA is broken promises or unfulfilled promises. Let me tell you, before today I will also try to answer this question on these promises, a very important question on these promises. The broken promises is something that can break UDA, because Kenyans are going to break away from they're going to lose hope in the political leadership. For example, Kenya Kwanza came with promises there was a charter for the women, 50% of cabinet and the other things. There was a charter for the Kenyan youth. There was a charter for the doctors. There was one that I think even one of our subscribers was reminding me, the police. The police were told of salary increment. And I remember Rigathi going to campaign in Meru, saying that polisi akikupata, instead ya kukusumbua, anafaa kupeleka nyumbani, ukisha kunywa yako, akupeleka nyumbani kwa bibi yako, so that wasichukue hongo. I remember the discussion about the police at the campaign trail. Rigathi was even telling them that hata nyinyi mmeteswa vile ambavyo tumeteswa. So it was used, and that group was spoken to. To date, we have formed a police task force that is led by CJ Maraga. I have seen the term of that task force has been extended for 60 more days. That to tell that the problem is deeper as what they thought maybe they will just come and solve it. So that has not been done. It has not been done. And the other thing here is the voting, the significance of the voting will lose its value. Look at what's happening in Nigeria. 90 million registered voters. The only people that walked to the polling stations is around 23 million. In our register, we had 22 million people. The only people that went to register to vote were 14 million. So look at the representation of those who are going to participate in the voting. There is more likelihood that out of the 14 million that voted, another 2 or 1 million might still join the 8 million or not even go to vote. Because people have lost hope into this. And let me say this. This is the problem that the danger lacking in that Miguna is actually telling Malala. Regional mobilization will be implemented. I can tell you, that's the nature of our politics. Sadly, it's the tragedy we are in, and we cannot run out of it. I remember when I think one leader was saying that we are in a hole and we can't stop digging. We have to continue. You don't stop digging, but you have to find a way coming out of it. It will still need to take us time to come out of regional mobilization. And if you want to see, just follow these events in the next few months when UDA will now, their campaigns will hit. You will see, and you've been seeing where the leaders go to a region and they're telling those regions about who and who has been appointed anywhere in government. So that they're not telling them that they've been appointed on merit. When the president went to my county of Siaya, and rather the region of Nyanza, regarding Gachagua paraded those who had been appointed, PS, minister here and some parastatal here and there. And that is what is going to happen, because even in the next election, we have normalized the discussion of, I have been appointed and I am representing my region. And I say, so some leaders just accept to be stupid for a while, for the convenience. Someone who has been appointed as a PS or is in a parastatal is yapping about, telling us about how he's representing his region, while there is no single project that he has done in that region, or as if we don't know that budget making process starts from the executive, goes to the National Assembly, and everything to be done is budgeted for there. If you look at the national budget, there is nothing for your people but to shout. It's just giving personal fortunes to people to elevate profile, so that when you elevate the profile of the individual, you can use him as a political bait. And that is it. So while someone is telling Malala there are a lot of mobilization on what's going to happen, but the same person telling you you want to be like ANC is lying to you. At the end of the day, the mobilization is on tribes. Lastly, Malala will find himself in a very hot soup, and the hot soup is William Ruto succession matrix. At what point will it be? Because, he is the Secretary General. If he happens to be the Secretary General of that ANC, and that ANC becomes the platform on which Ruto's succession is going to be debated, then Ruto's succession involves Rigathi and Mudavadi. What do you think? That if Mudavadi does not succeed in the Ruto succession, then those who are against Malala from Western will turn against him and say that he was used to betray them. I can tell you, he has met Rigathi, who is a deputy president but is a civil servant that is allowed to hold to do politics. Musalia Mudavadi is a civil servant that is not allowed. So he's not going to meet Mudavadi, but he's been meeting Rigathi. What are we saying? Malala's political ambition, or rather political future, can be killed by succession politics. Remember, learn from Tuju. Tuju has revived his political goal by going back to Raila over 2022. And I can tell you, if Tuju would now come out and vie in Siaya for any seat or somewhere, people can listen to him. But before going back to Raila, Ruto did not hold any significance. So that's why I'm saying that as much as it's a good deal, but then you need to think twice. For Malala, the goose is cooked. This gentleman will fight and you will be sacrificed.